So, hi, Namaskaram. I want to try a small experiment with you. Just close your eyes for a second and tell me what music means to you. In your life, what does music mean? Just think about music, the word music, and what comes to your mind immediately, and what does it mean to you? If you are from India, right? If you have origins here, there are so many things that will come to your mind. The first song that you heard when you were a child, and the musical composers, the film music composers, the Carnatic music, Hindustani music, so many different genres here within India, right? I am very careful using the word genre because there is a big thing that is coming up for you now. So many things come to your mind, right? Music is so pleasant, so nice. It's touching the soul. It can touch you very deeply. You close your eyes and think about Sanatana Dharmam slash Hinduism, right? It has the divine gods and goddesses who have weapons of destruction in their hands. There's like killing arms. In one hand, they have food for basic sustenance, right? And in the other hand, they have a musical instrument. Why? Why do they have a musical instrument in their hand? Veena, Saraswati, Damru with Shiva, flute, Krishna, whatnot. Right? Why is music kept right there? And if you see Islam, to the best of my knowledge, music is haram. It's a sin to perform musical instrument and learn and perform music. In Christianity, to my knowledge again, it is not acceptable to play music which is not on the name of Lord. If you have music, it is only on the name of Lord. But what has this got to do with the topic of my video today? Music is dangerous. Music is fun. Music is fantastic. Music is soul touching, everything, but music is dangerous. And I'm going to give you a special example of why it has gotten to this dangerous state today and what can we do about it. Uh, for this, I need to just step back a little bit and walk you through the history, American history, of how music evolved there, how the blues came with African slaves, and how that became rhythm and blues, R&B, and how the pop was introduced, how pornography was liberalized around the same time with the media technology, the visuals getting more and more disgusting. They started selling, marketing music for different reasons, and that music is called rock and roll. Rock in African language is to have sexual intercourse. Rock and roll has the most disgusting connotation ever, and it is created to tap the sexual energy of children very very early. The sexual expressions of children can tap very very early. What else can tap the sexual expressions of children very early and has been kept in great caution by other civilizations slash religions is music is so divine, right? But what has happened to this music? Why is this rock? uh, what is wrong about it? Sometimes it feels good to listen to. Yes, sometimes it feels good to listen to, but if a child listens to it and has developed interest, it is extremely unlikely that it will hear any other forms of classical music or proper music. It's not classical music, it is just proper music. I'll touch upon the origins of music, when supposedly the Greeks invented music and what happened thousands of years before in India, how the Mulai Pan evolved into the seven modes and how they match up to the Greek modes, how Veena had 22 Shrutis, 22 notes as opposed to the 12 that is contemporary today, and why 12, what happens when you take root of 2 and you take the 12th root of 2, where did the irrational numbers come for the first time, who invented it, what happened when the Greeks apparently thought they invented it and they created some stories, mythological stories around it, and how much the number system and magic of poetry and mathematics was prevalent in India much, much before all that, and we deeply understood music and its impact on humanity. And much like yoga, much like Ayurveda, much like many other masterpieces which are just resurrecting today. I'm using resurrection as a word for that. That's interesting. But as much as it is all happening today, uh, why did rock and roll, what is it doing today, right? So this book is written by an American author, which B.M. Hegde quoted as Alan Bloom. He writes about the closing of an American mind. What happens when children listen to rock and roll music early, and he attributes the high divorce rates in America in 1980s for the Alba slash other rock and roll musicians, who have all tapped the sexual expressions of those children who are all married at that point of time, and attributes to very high divorce rates. So music is that dangerous, guys. So if you think your child is listening to some nonsense today, Imagine Dragons band, Believers, disgusting visuals, and you're thinking that hey, என் பையன் இங்கிலீஷ் பாட்டு கேட்குறான், என் பொண்ணு இங்கிலீஷ் பாட்டு கேட்குறா, எனக்கு இங்கிலீஷ் பாட்டே புரியாது, என் பசங்க கேட்குறாங்க, I cannot even understand English songs, but my kids are listening, my kids are enjoying. Gone. Their mind gets closed and they will never develop interest in any other music. But that is not the only problem. There are much deeper problems if they're connecting it to sexual expressions early. What other aspects of life can tap sexual expressions early? Cosmetics, we have known it for many years, but it's just that lipstick, right? In Indian civilization, it's called yechal. We will not let our saliva touch anything. Cup also when we drink, spoons also when we have, we call it yechal. And we'll say yuck, we'll give a disgust, vibasta, aruviruppu, right? It's not without a reason, right? I used to think, oh no, this is all just superstitions, saliva is just water and plus all these nice things and everything, right? But the point is, the lip is very has to be kept very careful, as opposed to if you go to west, they'll have a chapstick because of the dryness of the lips, right? And the kids roll, and that taps their sexual energy. But here, you wait until you discover that there is magic into it much later in the game. I'm talking about this explicitly because there are many such aspects which are all hiding, and when we work with children more and more, we realize that the sanctity, the beauty of all these things which have happened in India, right? We've seen this all, and we've said these are acceptable things, not without a reason, right? So rock and roll, run away. You don't want really your children to rock and roll ever in their lives. How do you get it out of them? How do you get it out of the system? Is by injecting Carnatic music. Do not take them to a class. Class is a scam. A Carnatic music class where they make you sit and grind Maya Molo Gola until the child loses interest. Why Maya Gola? It is Persian music, right? Pa bum pum pum pa bum pum pum pa bum pum pum pa bum pum pum da 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 da, like la 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 la. There's somebody, right? Some very interesting professor spoke to me about it. How Maya Gola sounds so close to Persian, and why Hyder Ali slash Purandaradasa around that time, or 100 years this way, that way. What could have happened then for him to chart out a curriculum and grind it to children so they lose interest and run away is God only knows how he himself learnt to be able to create this, right? So it happens. Magic happens with certain children, no doubt. But the probability of that happening to your child, if you put him to a class, is almost zero. Very close to zero. Because if of the million children, only 100 of them have access to a teacher. Of the 100 who have access to a teacher, 98 run away. 2 might cross to the Varnam. Varnam, Varlam, Varamal, Polam. You don't want to take such chances, right? Unless you have a revered guru in your own relative circle, nice, Tachimamam community who are very protected, beautiful, and giving that opportunity. There is a caution there also, because there are certain people who will attach music to adequacy. What is adequacy? Ha! I got the raga. Ha! I got the thala. Ha! I got this. I got that. Right? And they will start calling others as Jnana Sonyam, or they will start saying Abhaswaram. They'll start talking about music as if it's theirs. So absolutely bullshit, right? Music does not need shruti. Shruti is just grading of frequencies which has come from the west through harmonium. There is no harmony there. Harmonium is a reed, a church instrument, right? And that is inspired 100 generations after Veena. Sarangi was the violin's forefather, and then many other instruments came, and finally piano and harmonium. Why should that come back into India to set the scales? God only knows. Why should tambur, which is a Persian instrument, come later into India? Persia, Indo-Arabic has no history to music, right? Music is all here, India. Natya Shastra, Mullaipan again, yoga with Patanjali's uh, 22 scales, not even 12, right? Why 12? Why white and black separated? Why Maya Mologola looks very crisscrossed while Shankarabharanam looks tadan tan tan tadan tan tan tadan tan tan tadan tan tan. You cannot even play Maya Mologola easily on your piano. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. Idukke you need money to even just play this. But on the other hand, white scales and all, sa ga ga re sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. So it's much more straightforward, right? If I'm singing Shankarabharanam, right, it's just white scales. So did they crisscross it for this reasons? All that is left up to your own interpretations, right? But music has deep origins in India, and it is not tied to adequacy. It is blissful. It is beautiful. It is mathematical. There is geometric progression involved. What not? So, I mean, I'll cut all that history short for interested people who can always reach to me and talk about it, because there's a lot of research into music, origins of mathematics, origins of cultural exchanges that happens between different countries, different civilizations. So so all that is interesting, but this rock and roll is dangerous. It is not interesting. If your child is listening to it, somehow introduce him to Indian music, which is Carnatic, which is Hindustani is much later, right? You think about the timelines and you compare them as equivalent genres. If Britishers say there are two types of Indian music, Carnatic and Hindustani, you go back to your country, man. You're crapping. There's no timeline between these two, right? Malkauns and Shindolam, the ragam is all like what? Bhairavi ragam is all like thousands and thousands of years ago, right? You're talking about Persian influence, Hindustani much later, right? For invasions. And then you talk about as if you have a Muslim era, then you talk about Christian era, then you have talk about all these things, right? You're just screwing up the history of the country, right? So music, I'm tying this confidently because I've not seen people talk about music and history confidently. Musicians run away from this topic. They don't like it because they have been drilled into one scale, one shruti, one raga, one for until they lost interest, or they have been literally thrown out of the wall, other side of the wall. That they don't even want to think about this wall and see who's going to climb and come back. They will say practice, 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 and they'll not give anything useful besides that word practice. So, anyways, guys, I think I'm going beyond my time, right? So, ideas, rock and roll, runaway. Do not have the child's sexual energy interest trapped when they are young. And when you introduce Carnatic music, not as a class but as a social, as a community gathering, like Ganesh Chaturthi is on it's going on now. So Ganesha songs or Ilayaraja songs. Ilayaraja did such masterpieces, right, for us. So Ilayaraja songs or anything, Indian music, you introduce them, automatically this will get a gate pass and go away. Rock and roll will get a gate pass and go away. On the contrary, if you say let it go, they will everything else they let it go. Frozen, oh I love Frozen. I am the princess of Harandale. Gone. How many princes can this country accommodate? Right? So music is broken, music is for wrong reasons, connects closely to pornography, connects closely to many bad things. Remember the 90s revolution that India had when they suddenly introduced this MTV. Literally, boys and girls, they were all shaking. Like, why this nonsense is coming here? Yeah, the random bullshit is coming here. And then 5, 10 years later, FTV. So all these things are not, they are not Indian. They have to be very kept careful. But somehow it got introduced, and even many people we know, they're all fallen for it, and perhaps facing their problems because of that. They'll have their ideologies twisted towards the West. Something about worshipping, the wares, Western wares, and thinking that, oh, that is just another genre of wearing. Not wearing anything is just genre, right? So many other cultural bullshit comes into the picture. So take be careful about what you're picking up, and do not pick up rock and roll. That is my strong advice to you, especially to this community which is closely following these videos, right? Thank you so much.